Why don't you do what you dream, Bastion?
But I can't. I have to keep my feet on the ground.
Call my name, Bastion. Please save us.
All right, I'll do it. I'll save you. I will do what I dream. Cheat codes. Enjoy that for a minute. It's February 4th, 2016. Welcome to episode 83 of the Cheat Codes Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game news. And sometimes we throw a sprinkling of tech and pop culture in for good measure. My name is Joe Erskine. I am your host. We're coming to you from either a dusty candlelit attic in the middle of a storm or from the back of a giant flying dog weasel soaring over the decaying remnants of Fantasia. Your pick. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes producer and editor Mr. Joe Falcor Arroyo.
I'm a luck dragon.
Cheat Codes contributor Mr. Nick Moonchild Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
and we're welcoming talk amongst yourselves and current digital columnist, game dev, and enthusiast, Mr. Brian Atreyu White.
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for being here, man. Today on the show, we're going to gnaw on the gourmet rocks that are the following main topics. Our lovely guest wrote a new piece about playing Halo for the first time, despite some preconceptions and reservations. We're also going to talk about gaming positivity in games criticism and how maybe we all need to chill out, maybe. And also, that Ant Simulator game that you backed on Kickstarter, yeah, they aren't doing that anymore. We'll talk about why. And for today's lightning round, we're going to battle back the nothing to get to the following bits. An op-ed believes that Nintendo needs to start growing up with its fans. And lastly, who better to narrate Planet Earth than David Attenborough, right? Wrong. There's a petition going around to get Snoop Dogg to do it. Thanks, Internet. Mr. White, thank you so much for coming on. Tell us a little about what you're doing over at Talk Amongst Yourselves and Current Digital, and maybe a bit about your experiences in game development as well.
Well, I don't do a whole lot over there, but basically I write an article every week where I pick out a game and write about it. Simple stuff. And occasionally I write these long op-ed pieces like, the one I did a couple days ago, the Halo one, and the one you guys talked about 2 weeks ago about game difficulty.
Cool.
I just want to write more in-depth stuff than typical news and reviews and all that.
Yeah, what is the one, the angle of the one game a week post?
I started that a couple, 2.5 years ago, and the whole angle was just to get me to write stuff. But nowadays, it's let's look at some games that maybe we don't talk about these days. Forgotten stuff, drag them back out into the light and chat about them. One of them I talked about was Driver San Francisco, which I thought was brilliant, but it's that. It's kind of the game that just goes by, and then...
Is that the one with Vin Diesel? Was he the main character? Or
no,
he did
that
the
was,
VO?
That was Wheelman, I think it was called.
Oh, that's right. That was Wheelman. Sorry. Okay.
Driver San Francisco is the one where you shift from one car to another. You play as you're in Tanner's coma dream basically, and you're basically a ghost in it. It's weird.
You possess other drivers or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, geez.
It's pretty out there, but that's the kind of game. Those are the kind of games I like talking about. These weird, unique kind of experiences.
That's
cool.
Awesome. Yeah. I was wondering, because you just said you weren't a big fan maybe necessarily of just reviewing a game or something. So it's nice that you get to.
Yeah, I like talking about
pick
more
and choose.
The emotional content between them and
right.
stuff like that.
No, right on. And what about the game dev stuff, man? Are you working on something, or have you worked on stuff in the past? What's the deal?
Well, I'm just getting into that. I'm writing. I'm creating a visual novel that's kind of it's inspired by Silent Hill a lot.
Oh, cool.
I figured if they're not going to make a Silent Hill, I might as well make my own.
Right on.
Basically. So I'm not much into game development. I'm not much of a coder. So I'm a storyteller first. So.
It's okay. Engines now, they'll do 90% of the coding for you, and there you go.
Yeah, the visual novel seems like the most logical step.
Right on. For me. No, right on. That's cool. So, can you talk about? So it's a Silent Hill thing. Are you have a release date in mind? Is it still super early on? What's the deal?
It's super early on.
Okay.
I think it's about a minute long so far, the game. So, and there's no art or music yet. So,
but it's probably it's a solid minute though. I bet.
Oh yeah, it's a good.
It's good
seconds of awesomeness. Then it's over.
Well, we got some more solid minutes in store. I promise. Here. Before we get on with the main course of the show, let's talk about what we're washing it down with. This never-ending story needs a proper compliment, wouldn't you say? We're trying to save Fantasia, after all. And you thought beer didn't go well with stuff. So with that in mind, today's beer coupling is the Great Franziskaner Hefeweizen, brewed by Spot and Brown in Munich, Germany. Don't drink and fly Falcor, folks. Also, and on a personal note, and a little bit of a fun fact, extra special cheers to us, because today marks the 2-year anniversary of our very first episode ever, February 4th, 2014. So hooray. This beer is particularly special to us. We drank many of these while we were coming up with the initial concept for this very podcast.
Kind of like drinking banana bread.
A little bit.
Sometimes.
A little bit.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, we didn't kind of realize this until like the last minute. So, welcome, Brian, onto our second anniversary episode.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right. Before we, let's just get on with it. Yeah? All right, we're getting on with it. Our first topic comes from our very own guest. Last week, we featured a lightning round topic inspired by our guest op-ed about game difficulty options and how they should be included in every game. I think we sorted that out appropriately 2 weeks ago. However, this week, we're going to hash out his latest. But with him present, that means we have to be on our best behavior. So his article, which you can find over at Talk Amongst Yourselves, discusses playing Halo for the first time and some of the preconceptions that come with playing a game that you think you aren't going to like. It's also one of the nicest things anybody has written about the Master Chief Collection that I can remember reading it anytime recently. All right, so I'm curious, Brian. I'm going to pitch this to you right away. And what was the inspiration to kind of go back and take a look at this? Like, where did the initial concept for the article come up from?
Well, it basically came from me buying my Xbox One like months ago, and just I had Halo on it finally. It's not a game I ever had. I never had an original Xbox, so I never really got into Halo at all, like everyone else did. So I don't know. The thing is, when I finally started playing it, I was like, hey, this is actually really cool.
No, right on. And you explained this in the article too, like kind of like being begrudgingly kind of recognizing after the fact that Xbox ended up having kind of a very sizable library. But when you initially had your first kind of touches with Halo at your buddy's house or whatever for a few minutes of split screen, I think is what you said, that you weren't necessarily kind of taken by it. But after all these years, you kind of came back and decided maybe this is, it's a matter of convenience, I suppose, but happy kismet in the long run to a certain degree.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean, like I said, I played it basically because I had it on Xbox. I still didn't even want the thing when I got the Xbox. I was like, great, Halo, because, I was getting the Xbox on a deal, and that's what it came with. So
still the nicest thing I've heard about the Master Chief Collection to date.
Yeah, I mean, I had no problems with it, really. I don't understand why people, it works for me. It didn't bug out on me or anything.
Okay.
Well, coming from a guy who wanted to play through the campaigns, it makes a lot more sense than someone who wants to relive the Halo glory days of online play and then sit in the matchmaking for
oh yeah,
whoever knows how long. Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah. I'm not even sure it's fixed now. So
they're working on it.
343, I love you. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I was just going to bring up the whole thing where, he explained where he's more of into the campaign and everything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that struck me with this article a lot, actually, reminded me of, I'm guilty of this, of what you mentioned. Like, many times I have found games that I missed the boat on, essentially, at least like maybe two releases deep, and I hadn't played either, and there's a bunch of hype about it, and then like maybe a third one comes out, and you don't really know how to feel because you feel like you have to go start at one, and you don't want to play that, you don't want to go all the way back and commit to like a huge series of games all of a sudden. And then so you find yourself, or at least I found myself justifying reasons why I didn't like it without ever having played it, so that I felt better about not having played it.
What's a specific example? Like
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead?
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a great game that I still have not really given a lot of time to, but I used to pretend like I didn't like it, and I don't know why, because I hadn't played it and I didn't want anyone to judge me.
Well, Brian, I think this is kind of like one of the cool side effects of writing an article like this, right? And maybe I didn't spend too much time reading the comments, but did you find that like people responded positively in the sense that like they kind of came up with their own stories about games that kind of like came around and surprised them when they were either forced or kind of, even willingly put themselves in a position to play the game that they thought they weren't going to like?
Yeah, I got a few comments like that. People were talking about Call of Duty and Metal Gear Solid were a couple of examples that kept popping up. Mm-hmm. And like Call of Duty is nothing that I play for the campaign because I'm a weirdo. But
You're not that weird, man. I'm exactly the same way.
I played it for the campaigns.
I don't
too.
fuck with online. I straight up play for campaign.
I just hate it because I've never played it before.
And there's the rub, my friends. Yeah.
Way to perpetuate it.
Yeah, I know.
Fantastic.
I played World at War, I think, or something, but that was just for Nazi zombies. But
Nazis.
that was cool though.
yeah, that was great.
And well, apparently the whole Nazi zombie thing is a recurring thing.
Yeah, well, it comes back.
Especially, I don't mean COD Ops 3. They do it again.
Well, yeah, they're zombies. They're hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Brian, did you find yourself like doing a similar thing to what I mentioned, where you actually like, have bad things to say about a game you've never played just to justify not having played it?
I used to back in the day, like I pointed out in the article. I used to be that guy, and like, oh, this game sucks, and like, you know, because I see all the, well, with Halo, I saw all the like bro gamers talking about it all day. I'm like, I don't care. It's probably stupid. You play as a toaster, I think. So, but yeah, nowadays I try not to do that. I haven't really come up with a game these days where I try not to judge anything I haven't played nowadays.
That's good. That's just a sign of just growing up and being mature about
And I think
anything.
that's
right?
one of the great part of the subtext of the article itself, right?
Right.
Is about preconceptions and growing up. And I even as a podcast host or whatever, we give short shrift to certain things for the sake of what we think is humor. But yeah, I think it's fair to say like maybe keeping an open mind is the best policy, just for the sake of letting yourself get surprised every once in a while by something that maybe you've overlooked.
Well, it's a good idea. I mean, like you picked up Joe here. He picked up Assassin's Creed 4 at one point, and he hated the original ones, but he picked it up, and there
Which
were
one
boats.
is for? Is that Syndicate
the
or is
boat,
that Unity
isn't it?
or
The boats. It's
Black Flag.
Assassin's Creed. The
Black
boats.
Flag?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed's boats.
Of course, Black Flag. Who doesn't like
Assassin's Creed Pirates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you had all these preconceptions about Assassin's Creed. It's like, oh, I don't like Assassin's Creed, and maybe you still don't necessarily like the gameplay, but you picked it up because there was a different game. It had boats, and
That might be indicative of the times or my age, I suppose. But that's a game that I actually played the first one all the way through and like platinumed it because I was sick as hell and had no other games, and I hated every minute of it, and I beat the whole damn thing. And then yeah, it sucked.
It's still the best Assassin's Creed though.
But even now, I was willing to give another one another try, which I think is, I'm a good person, I guess. I don't know what that.
Just tell yourself I appreciate the work that went into this.
But I feel like in our age, in the gaming spectrum, I suppose, I feel like my bitterness and being jaded about things is just different. It's more about like I look at the game and I don't think it's bad or good, but when I get an idea of how much effort it's going to take for me to play it, I'm like, fuck that game. I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
that's kind of what comes down to it. I think.
Ain't no one got time for that.
Brian, so Halo became the centerpiece for this article, but like, did you find yourself kind of like looking back and thinking about other games that maybe you had a preconception about that maybe you've since gone back and tried in light of this or based on this attitude? I'm curious.
There was Devil May Cry. I'm a big fan of Devil May Cry,
Okay.
the whole series, and I didn't like the idea of the reboot when it came out.
Was that the one where he had like short hair? He was like a
he had
goth
short
kid
hair.
or whatever.
He was
Yeah. Okay.
He was all emo and everything.
Right.
So like I didn't pick that up for a long time, and then one day I picked it up used for like $30. I was like, all right, let's just actually try it.
Yeah, the combat mechanics.
I
are
think
kinda
it's
fun
pretty
in that,
good.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's not a terrible game. So I mean,
I thought those games were like mindless fun.
I felt it existed in the same like pantheon as like God of War or Bayonetta.
A little
for
bit,
me,
where you're just
you know
kind of
what I mean?
like juggling people in the air with all your combos. or
Right,
something, yeah.
right, and the animations are pretty cool, and there's lots of like particle effects, and yay.
Like those are the kind of games where you could be a badass. You could pull off like the crazy combo that you unlocked at level 10, or you can just keep hitting X.
Right, mash it
And it's
get
gonna work out
technical.
okay.
Which is cool because I think anybody that comes from like a fighting game, like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, who's like, you know what, I'm not gonna ever master these things to get the 50 hit combo that I need to, but I can do it in this other game by not even trying.
That's what the Ninja Gaiden reboots were like.
Oh, I heard
where
that-
you could just do you could literally do fighting style, like fighting game moves in that game.
Yeah.
Even ones that were in fighting games, like they did little nods to them.
Oh, got
like
it.
some of the power slams he would do were from fighting games. Anyway,
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I think
Nobody.
I don't feel as guilty of this usually. I guess the only games I've ever feel like I've had a preconception for are like Call of Duty, because there's been so many of them that I haven't played them all, and they all feel like they're going to be the same anyways. But I've never felt like I've hated them or that I wouldn't give them a try. I don't know, like...
Wait, okay. Follow-up question.
Yeah.
What would entice you to give the next one a try? What is it that's stopping you? And when does that wall go down? How do we break down those walls, Nick?
I don't know, like it's not necessarily a sense of like, oh, I'm not going to like this if I play it. It's more, I feel like, okay, I could have some fun with that. Is it really worth my time to actually spend some time having like fun with it, I guess. I don't know, like... So I have the preconception. Okay, I'm more guilty of this with movies.
Yeah,
or
I was
like
just gonna say, damn
like,
it.
It's like I'm already gonna like that. Why should I watch it? Like, it's like,
Does that logic make any sense?
does that make any sense?
Else?
Like,
'Cause no.
Okay, I haven't watched Game of Thrones. I've like seen part of the first season. It's like it was great. It seems like it's gonna be really good, but I don't have any intention of watching it because I already know I'm gonna like it.
Okay.
Like, does that make sense? I guess that's my
No, that logic sucks.
I have enough time like finding stuff that I want to watch, let alone be like, oh, I know I'm gonna like that, so fuck it.
I like finding that.
Like, that makes zero sense to me, Nick. Like,
It's like I got to find that other stuff though that other people don't like. I'm really hipster in the movies that I watch.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, fair enough. So I want to break this down to brass tacks a little bit, Brian.
Okay.
As far as the article is concerned, this is where the meat of it is for me. So that this attitude, the one that you're addressing, seems part and parcel to a lot of gaming. The fight to be recognized as a real and legitimate, for media or art or whatever word you want to insert here is fine, but it's still a form of entertainment, and it's becoming more and more solidified in culture. But so much of it is exclusionary across so many facets, which I think you allude to a little bit, like, watching your brother and his online experiences and how it kind of like turned you off when you were watching your brother play like the online aspects of Halo.
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean ultimately, and I think you make this point very succinctly in the closing of the article, is about keeping an open mind so that you can leave yourself open to surprise. But if you have to break it even further down, not necessarily but more about like, isn't this indicative of a larger issue? And I think we're gonna hit on okay.
He's trying to segue, right?
I'm gonna plant the seeds of a segue, but then I'm still looking for a resolution to a certain degree. But so foreshadowing a little bit, our next article will deal about the quote unquote arrival of video games as a outlet and cultural kind of whatever mainstay. But what I'm curious about is if we all have these preconceived notions, then how do we get past them? Is it just simply about keeping an open mind, or is it really about just kind of like picking up anything you can get your hands on and playing it?
Well, yeah, basically. Keep it open mind, play what you want to play. I mean, you shouldn't be, everyone thinks Call of Duty is stupid, therefore it's stupid. You should play it for yourself and find out. You can't really tell how you feel about a game until you play it yourself.
For how long? So many games now. Well, here an example is like Dying Light. Like you could spend the first 5 hours in one building and never go outside, and then finally it's a whole different game waiting for you out there. And I'm like,
That's
well,
true.
this game
Xenoblade
sucks.
Chronicles X, for example. Xenoblade Chronicles X, that they give you, they have all these cool robots on the cover, but you don't even get one for 20, 30 hours into the game. So that's, I guess it's going to vary from game to game, really.
Yeah. Did they dangle the carrot enough in that game to keep you playing then, to get into a robot?
They kind of did, yeah.
There you go.
And it just dangles and dangles and dangles, and you can't reach it ever.
You end up feeling like a donkey. All right, well, fair enough. I have one more last question. Was there any other game, like when you had the idea for this article, was there any other game besides Halo that you were even considering putting this in the way you wrote about Halo and the Master Chief Collection and everything else? Was there a different franchise or something that you were pondering or considering being the focal point other than Halo for this article?
Not really. Well, at first I wanted to write about, it might be a different article, but I want to write about BioShock Infinite and how that's kind of a letdown for me. I guess that's the opposite of Halo. I'm into BioShock, and then now I'm really not.
Well, did you love the other BioShocks, like one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
1 and 2, really. I like 2.
Okay.
A lot of people don't like 2. I think 2
is great.
I thought 2 was cool. I actually think their multiplayer was actually not
The
horrible.
multiplayer was so much fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But 2 worked well.
Yeah.
as a successor,
Well, it's
narratively
got
and
moments
otherwise.
of brilliance. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay.
I didn't play it. I thought I'd like it too much.
Yeah,
but
shut
yeah,
up.
Halo was the big one for me though.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, right on. That's whatever. I think it's a feel good story, and we need more of these, despite what maybe the next topic might say about this. But Ed Smith over at Killscreen wrote an article as part of his "Shut Up Video Games," which is probably one of the best names ever for a series of articles ever. But it centers around the idea that gaming positivity in gaming criticism is a problem, which probably comes maybe as a counterpoint to our previous topic, albeit indirectly. To contextualize this, I'm going to give you a quote from the article. So he says, "I see a paradigm, a mental model of championing games beyond all reason, in the hope their false glory will reflect back to us, the critics, a sense of validation," which was. Just let that soak in for a second. So let's sort this out a little bit. Let's keep in mind that the author is talking about how critics and journalists talk about games, not necessarily the fan base or the games themselves.
Yeah, let's not just talk about YouTube comments at this point.
Right. Well, there's journalism, and then there's
And then
not.
there's Reddit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, Brian, we're going to need you to hold our hands a little bit for this one, please, and thank you. As in the interest of getting all the facts out there and treating this appropriately. Yeah, you may have to hold our hands a bit, but this article talks a lot about how when a lot of reviews get written, things come across as overly positive and very just accepting of what many, or I'm trying to contextualize this properly, what many would consider maybe like flaws or from a technical aspect or design aspect or maybe even an artistic one, but. What comes across is that maybe we should not necessarily be championing games just for the sake of championing them, but recognize where quality lies, and then maybe like turning around and accepting limitations of a medium to a certain degree.
I kind of read this article a little differently than a measure of quality based on like community championing. Just I saw it as a measure of people pretending like games are doing more good than they actually are, kind of a scenario. Like, not necessarily all these games are great, you should buy every game, but more games are doing such great things for the community, then that makes us feel a lot better about making something that at its core is an entertainment source.
Okay.
And so, hey, because you get to be a flower petal and have an emotional experience floating around in the sky, there's something deeper there. We're supposed to appreciate that more than a game that we actually have more fun playing, because it validates us and makes it seem like and there's so many games coming out now that are and this isn't being negative. I'm just trying to kind of sum up how I felt the point was. But games like that, Dragon Cancer and stuff like that, things that resonate with you emotionally. And I felt like he was kind of saying like those aren't an excuse to claim that everything in gaming is just like magic, because we did such great things together and we should be happy about that.
Okay, I think I'll accept that to a certain degree. I agree. I see where you're coming from, Brian. I don't know. Where did you come off on this one?
This article was a little baffling to me. He's kind of flip-flopping on what I mean. I don't know. I'm so confused by it. It's like games are artistic except her story, which this guy didn't seem to like. That's like it's not artistic because he didn't like it. That's what I got from it.
I get that vibe.
Well, he lumped that her story thing into the whole statement about emotional games and the fact that there's awards for them, and then how that is like laughable in the sense that like we appreciate that they're so earnest about this being an accepted thing, and that makes me laugh a little bit. And I agree with you in the sense that I kind of disagreed with him in that regard, because this is more indicative of games as a medium and being able to achieve these kind of reactions through their a player base, niche or not. And I think that's maybe worth recognizing, but I don't know. I couldn't help but think like maybe this guy was onto something. Is it like us games as a medium arriving, right? Quote unquote arriving as to be on the same measure as fine art or movies or television or anything else. Maybe that's not the ultimate goal, right? Like maybe we just need to keep pushing and hope for the best. Yes? I don't know. I'm leaving it out there.
I guess. I mean, for the record, I absolutely consider games art.
Right. I think we all do
been
too.
art.
Yeah.
They've been art for years and years, forever.
Yes.
So since they started, I mean, so I don't think there's anywhere to arrive to really. They're already there.
Yeah,
There you
that's what I'm
There
a
you
little
go.
confused about. I'm not sure what it is when he says arriving that he's actually alluding to. Where are we arriving? I'm not sure I grasp that because on that same respect, like I think games have always been art, but so are movies and so are everything else.
Well, it's a
Any
medium for
forms
sure.
forms of
But one
entertainment
that's, like,
can be
widely
art.
enough recognized, I guess.
But where did we arrive?
I guess
I'm saying I think he's saying that we haven't and we shouldn't. Is what the article is saying.
Arrive where?
And on the same echelon that maybe movies or books or
Oh, that's
everything
fucking
else
silly.
exists.
We are well past that.
Right. Well, based on a money making figure, probably. Yeah.
No, not just based on an artistic medium telling a story. Are you kidding me? Like, you tell me that you can have a movie that lets me experience what a character went through, and then you have a game that lets me experience that as the character, and you're telling me that there's more or less immersion as a result of that should be respectable compared to movies. I think it's like it's a runaway. It's simple. Like
Okay.
games that tell stories effectively do it much better than some films could do of the same type. I think they both deserve their space. But
At the very least, making it interactive instead of just watching something unfold.
I mean-
yeah, I hear you.
I don't know if I agree with that. The fact, like, I mean, I personally like movies and like TV shows better than video games, at least as a storytelling process. But the interactivity of games is like undisputed. I guess more of what I took from the article was the guy was just kind of more annoyed or like tired of people like self-proclaiming their games as being these great things because it's an art project or it's a piece of art, and he just wants maybe people to step back and maybe enjoy them as video games instead.
Okay.
I can respect that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, when you start skirting the line and there's zero mechanics in the game and it's like just an art project, when you stop calling it a video game and just like an installation, right? I guess,
Sure.
there's got to be a cutoff, right?
Well, okay, but let's break it down even further. And to me, it's more about when we talk about the positivity and like this is my great thing. It's less about the people that are making it and more about the people that are talking about it. And where like when he's talking about journalists and critics across the board and how there's this pervasive idea of positivity for game reviews. And I'm not saying this exists everywhere.
Game reviews.
Well, I think he's talking specifically about like game journalism as part of his
Journalism, but more about like community lifting itself up.
I think that's part and parcel, but yes,
Okay.
yeah. I'm not worried so much about what people think of their own games. I'm worried more about what he's talking about in the sense that of when other people talk about those games.
Well, I agree. What they think of their own games or what people think of their games, and they're putting them up on these pedestals because they're these great works of art. And does this mean that video games have finally arrived? It's like, no. I mean, it's an always ever evolving process, just like movies. Like you're always going to get something new. You're always going to get something different.
Yeah, it's the journey, not the destination.
It's
Fuck. If we ever arrive, then what the hell are we doing anyway, right? Can we at least agree that that with all the new technology we have, with these engines that have been coming out that are giving free access to indie developers and shit, that if you have the opportunity to make whatever the fuck you want to make, whether we label it a game or not, as long as you're happy making that thing, good for you. Sorry, I'm adding to the positivity of the industry. But
yeah, right. No, but at the same time, it rings a little bit very familiar to me in the sense that like when things like Pro Tools and stuff like that started coming out, and like the whole idea of making music in your garage or on your computer, like started really shaking up the music industry. People were fucking scared. Like they were legitimately scared about how things were going to change the business, and I think we're still seeing the effects of that. You know what I mean? So it's not a bad thing. It's not a great thing. It's evolution, right?
I guess I feel like what we're all trying to struggle with right here is like what was the guy's actual point of the article.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Brian, did you nail a point down?
Can you hold my hand, please, Brian? Yeah.
I still haven't. I don't know. He just seems like an angry dude who says we should all be more negative.
That's kind of
critical.
That's kind of what I read. Like he was just upset that we're so excited about the things that we're doing. I guess like maybe we don't. Maybe he thinks that we think that video games are here and they're changing the world right now, but to me, it's like I'm living day to day, enjoying video games, making video games. Like, is that
Is that so bad?
Is that am I being too positive?
What's wrong with
if
me?
if I feel good about this, should I stop feeling good about it?
Like, I went to school for making games, and now I get to do the thing I always wanted to do. And am I supposed to feel bad about this? Am I supposed to be in like a perpetual state of self-loathing when I get home because I don't get to make something great, or everyone's too positive about what I'm doing?
Right, because I'm not like a chimney sweep and I don't have the black lung. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. So I
Life is so hard, guys.
the fact that we get to make a podcast about video games. First world problems, guys. First world problems. I don't know.
The glass is too full.
How full is your glass, Brian?
It's pretty full.
Are you partaking at the moment? Are you drinking something special? We are.
No, I ran out. This is yesterday, so.
Oh, fair enough.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
you let us know. We could have like
I wish I could,
overnighted you some beer.
like drizzly you some beer right now or something. Yeah, totally. All right. So we can agree that arriving is not the point. Success is not the point. The fact that maybe video games being recognized is cool, but let's just keep pushing, right?
It's like I said, I don't feel like this guy was talking about anything except for like just keep
Being angry with it.
No, I didn't even think he was too angry. I just felt like he's spewing kind of like common sense and being upset that he thinks people don't understand it. I guess I don't know. Like
I thought he made a lot of good points, but the main overarching point is, I think, the thing that we probably either don't quite understand or agree upon.
That's possible.
At
It
this
happens.
point, I don't see any bad thing about being positive. Just sorry. But,
Right. Well, so like we started with the topic about keeping an open mind and being surprised, but on this one, it's kind of like, let's not take ourselves so fucking seriously, right? And it's kind of like, well, how else does shit get done if we don't take it a little bit seriously? Because I mean, it's a miracle that a game gets made in the first place, right? Like just like any other work of art or a movie or any like large scale production.
They're
You know
all
what I mean?
giant pieces of shit until like the last few weeks.
When it's really just a polished turd by the end of it. You know what I mean?
If you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah. That's how they make the sausage. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. We'll change gears a little bit here. Let's talk about sadness. Let's talk
Super
about
sad stuff.
yeah.
Let's try and be positive here, guys.
Let's try and stay positive if we can. But we talked a lot about Kickstarter games before, and some would say that there's a lot of attention being paid to what happens when these games get funded, but either take forever or never see the light of day. So this particular story showcases a situation that I think was probably bound to happen. A game jam inspires a larger project. Larger project gets crowdfunded and then is canceled when a couple of people, a couple of the partners of the company, spend the money on strippers and booze. The previous article was wrong. Video games have arrived, you guys.
Oh, God.
So what started as a successful crowdfunding bid to make some dev tutorials and a complete game called Ant Simulator. Ant meaning the six-legged creature
Yeah,
that
not
walks around.
not your aunt.
not your aunt.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for the pronunciation. It ended much like a George R.R. Martin story, riddled with betrayal, greed, and tragedy.
One that Nick will never watch because he knows he
Right.
will
We
enjoy
just
it.
we've covered this. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's ever made into a TV show, he won't watch. He knows he'll like it, but it won't happen.
Yeah.
Eric Tereshinsky and two business partners started an LLC and decided they were going to make this game and make these videos. They got about $4,000 off of Kickstarter and probably more through pre-orders and maybe some other private funding. We're not sure. But it all came to a crashing halt when Eric realized that his other business partners had been secretly spending money on booze. I'm sorry, quote, liquor, bars, restaurants, and strippers. So... am I wrong? Maybe I'm being pessimistic, but am I wrong in thinking that this was bound to happen? Like some Kickstarter was going to get a bunch of money, and then somebody was just going to blow it and ruin it for everybody.
No, you're not wrong.
Like Star Citizen.
That's so not the same thing.
That's not even remotely close.
Because the users get to blow their in-game currency on strippers because that's another feature they're probably adding.
Right. As much as I love simulator games, just like everybody else loves simulator games. Like there's a popular goat simulator. There's like a truck driver simulator. There's a farm simulator.
Do you remember the simulator in Fuck This Jam that we saw?
The driving
Of the truck, you're a trucker who's trying not to fall asleep while you're on the
Driving
road.
your truck.
Yeah, and you actually it's in first person, and the eyelids start to close over you, and you have to take uppers to keep going.
Well, so let's just kind of examine the tragedy of this. This guy put out a video, and by video, it's mostly like just
Audio, but yeah.
It's an audio over. It's a YouTube video of like one box saying, "If you donated money, I'm gonna try and pay you back."
Yeah.
But it's him for 4 minutes, basically explaining how after 11 years of friendship, he was completely betrayed by his friends who spent all the money that they raised for this Kickstarter, and this game was spent on whatever hookers and blow, effectively.
This is one of those like, find comedy in a dark place, guys. Find comedy in a dark place.
I guess, but listening to that video was one of the most tragic fucking things. Like, I felt so bad for that guy. Like, it was not fun.
It was sad. I guess the comedy in the dark place is like they only had $4,000 to spend on booze and strippers.
more.
Like there was
more.
a lot more than that.
from
Yeah.
pre-orders. That was just the Kickstarter fund.
Okay, so a whole ton of extra.
But still,
I was gonna say it's not that
Well,
much
it's
money.
4,000 plus.
But, yeah,
Let's say so.
enough to have some fun for a short period of time, and then realize that you can no longer have said fun.
I don't know. You could spend
It's a
that.
hell of a month, really.
You could-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you had $4,000 to spend in your pocket and you went to Vegas, you could blow that in one weekend. Like it's not even that much.
So wait, you're saying they did it wrong?
I'm saying. I'm saying.
Like, you didn't spend that money fast enough.
I'm saying they didn't plan it out. They should have waited till like they got more money and then like
Oh my god.
had a company.
and then it had a company that, and
Yeah.
like with enough fucking oversight or a lack of oversight enough that they could have just hidden that $4,000.
yeah, they should have
with no
just like
problem.
stacked the books and then
like everybody else does.
yeah, like grown-ups.
I swear, when they went in to form the company, they were like, okay, when you say limited liability,
Right.
by that, do you mean
What are the limits?
make it rain?
Should I throw a roll of pennies
Yeah,
or
am I not
have a
responsible?
stack of ones? How does that work?
Brian, how do you have you come across other ones that? I mean, there have been plenty of Kickstarter failures, right? But in this scenario, this is a whole different level, right?
When it comes to
Oh.
games, for sure.
Oh, easily. I mean, this is one of the few failed Kickstarters that really took off recently. I mean, there's been a lot of failed Kickstarters. There was one called Medora that failed, and it looked like a ripoff of Zelda, the Minish Cap. Anyway, the same artwork. But anywho, it failed, and the guy's like, "I'm going to pay you back," and I'm like, "How? Like, how are these guys going to pay anybody back?" Is what I'm saying.
So the extent of that was just they decided they weren't going to make it anymore.
As far as they know, but there was no contact out of it. That's how a lot of failed Kickstarters go. Is you never hear why.
They go
Some of them
silent.
just-
Yeah.
Some of them just disappear entirely. I mean, stories like this demonstrate the one thing about a Kickstarter. It's not a pre-order service. You know?
Right.
It's,
Right.
You know, it's you investing in a company. And maybe they make a game.
Yeah.
So two things.
No
real
guarantees to it.
Right. But two things. Like, was it actually a failed Kickstarter? I thought they actually raised what they wanted on Kickstarter, but they just misspent the
Oh,
funds.
when I say failed Kickstarter, I don't mean a Kickstarter that didn't succeed. I
Oh,
mean
okay.
a scenario in which a project that was kickstarted failed to be made.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
To me, that's a failed Kickstarter.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
if I was one
Yeah.
one of the donators, then I did not receive what I donated.
That
for.
makes sense, but to me, then, like, failed Kickstarter has two meanings. Then it's like one that A doesn't either reach
Didn't
its
get
goals,
funded, right.
or B that does and then never sees the light of day.
Right. So this is a failed Kickstarter.
Yeah. No, agreed. I'm just saying that there are two definitions
I
that
agree.
are both applicable.
This is a post-failed Kickstarter.
Right. Okay. Good. Okay. And I had a second thing, but I forgot what it was. So let's move on. So these guys, the only reason he stopped, production on Ant Simulator, this particular Mr. Eric Tishinsky, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I apologize if I'm not, but is that he was facing legal action. That if anything that had been released post their dissolution and the post, them being ousted, the ex-partners from the LLC saw the light of day, then they were going to bring up legal action against the main guy who was actually not spending his money on
Well,
strippers.
this doesn't make sense. I guess like
It doesn't, right? To a certain extent.
So my friend screwed me by spending my money. I guess I can kind of understand that, but now they want to screw the project for the rest of its existence, where I can't even
this is indicative of a larger conspiracy in this story that I
Yeah.
kind of read into, which was that they screwed him from the get-go, which seems really weird.
Yeah.
Like almost like they got together and like, this guy for some reason thinks we're his friend. I'm not making this up, but
Conjecture.
but like this
It's what
is
we're good at.
Well, it actually does stem from some things that he had mentioned, which was that when they did the LLC, that everybody had listed themselves as a consultant, so they had no responsibility to the actual business, but were tied to the business. They could use it, but they wouldn't be held responsible
As
because
quote
they weren't-
unquote consultants.
right?
Yeah.
Because they're consultants. So by consulting, that means give me your money and I'll spend it on strippers, and that to me sounds like a group of people who were conspiring from the very beginning. Because I don't think you put yourself into that situation, going through that much paperwork to say. I mean, we just got done doing the LLC for this company too. And you'd think we all thought twice. We all questioned everything. We've been friends for years, and we were all like, where do we sit? Like, what's our actual positions? Like, how does this going to play out? What happens when there's a dispute?
Right.
And all that kind of thing. They may not have had that discussion because they've been friends for 11 years.
Well, so
but-
here's how I handle that, because if you read the article, and we all did, I'm just saying, like, the two partners had titles like Director of Operations and Director of Finance, and the other guy was just like coder. You know what I mean? Like, so when you have, if you get into business like with people that don't necessarily know how to make games, but they want to be part of your business, if they take titles like Director of Finance and Director of Operations, and you're the only one actually building the game, maybe don't go into business with those guys.
Okay, super quick round the horn. Director of what? What would be for your random LLC?
Strippers and booze.
Director of strippers and booze.
Yeah.
What I would call myself?
Yeah.
If we're all included, you
Don't
can't
overthink
sue
it.
me later if we all do it together. That's my point.
If this was us, what would I have called myself? Like
Yeah.
director of? I have no idea. Like
Director of I have no idea.
Okay.
I would be the director of positivity.
Brian, if you're on this company, what are you the director of?
Oh man, like as generic as possible, like director of like stuff.
Director of stuff.
Wait. To be clear, it's director of like stuff.
Like stuff. So
I like that
I'm
better.
a director of
that
directors.
sounds actually like
director.
Brian. Director of like stuff sounds to me like you actually have more control than anybody. Although director of directors sounds pretty important.
Sounds
too.
like he has control over you.
Yeah. I will say that much. All right. Now for the fun part. Not that this hasn't been fun. It's always fun. Lightning round, everybody. So, we're going to explain how it works for those who haven't, partook or seen how it works in the past. We're gonna take two quick topics and give each member of the panel a minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part. We're gonna do our best. At the end of each minute, we will award the panelist a quantity of some type of points based on nothing in particular, actually. So, topic number one, Nintendo, which acted as the entry point for a legion of gamers back in the 80s, has a problem. As its initial fan base enters their mid-30s and early 40s, I count myself among these folks, an article from Vice argues that Nintendo needs to stop worrying about or just focus less on what we want as the older set of gamers and needs to focus on what the younger generations are interested in and bring them into the fold the way we were all brought in all those years ago. So, gentlemen, you have 1 minute to talk about why Nintendo either needs to grow the fuck up or chill the fuck out or not at all keep doing what they're doing, or just spend the minute any way you please. But there are 60 seconds to be divided between the four of us appropriately.
We have to
That's
divide
not
60
no.
sp-
That's not how
We
division
each have a minute.
That's not how it works.
There are 4 minutes. There are 4 minutes to be divided equally.
Okay, we're much closer.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
a little better.
Great. Mr. Arroyo. Fuck. Mr. Arroyo, I'm going to give you the first minute.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Start.
Okay. I was a huge Nintendo fan growing up. Sure. I am in this demographic who's grown up with Nintendo, and I wish Nintendo was growing up with me, but instead they're kind of sitting there and they're stuck in their age, and I'm growing up and looking back on it because the games just aren't evolving in the same way. And that's kind of a ongoing topic in the show. We tend to bring up Nintendo in that light often. Do I think that they can? I think with the new Pokemon game that's coming out with the ARG stuff on the mobile devices, this could be a whole new thing. But instead, at the moment, when they talk about the game, what was the game in this article? Was it Chibi Robo?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they refuse to implement certain new 3D mechanics because they might be too difficult for the younger audience to understand. I think that that's silly when people, like, kids are coming out of the womb swiping right.
The courtesy Tinder laugh. Thanks to Nick.
Sorry, it's just funny.
All right.
Nick rarely laughs at my lightning round minutes.
It's just a swipe
I
right
will-
out of the womb.
I'm going to award you 1 extra life that is a green and white mushroom.
Thank you.
And
Only one.
just one and 99 coins.
Okay.
So we'll see how you do in the next minute. Maybe you'll get that extra one up. All right.
I like it.
Okay. Brian, you feel like you're game for a minute here on Nintendo growing up with its fans?
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay. We're gonna start a timer when I say go.
You're just not gonna say go.
I just wanted like an uncomfortable silence there for a second. Yeah. All right, ready, go.
Well, I might be a bit biased here because I'm a huge Nintendo fan. Legend of Zelda is my favorite thing in the world.
Me too.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure Nintendo's fine doing what they're doing. I mean, I don't see why a person of my age, almost 30 here, can like I can still enjoy Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, all that. It's more like they make games for everyone, not just it's not a kiddie company as people think it is. So, you know, I think they're good the way they are. They know what they're doing.
You got 30 seconds left, or you can just drop the mic, however you want to play it.
I don't know. I think people who want it to go multi-platform just want to play Zelda and Pokemon. That's it, I think.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Probably.
No, fair enough. All right. I'm going to award you 2 extra life mushrooms. And,
Yay.
but only 50 coins.
Oh.
So you're halfway to the next extra life.
How many coins do you need for an extra life?
100.
Oh,
Isn't that how Mario works? Am I incorrect?
I don't know.
I don't know. It
That's
depends.
how Mario
The
works.
fact that I have any doubt about this already troubles me more than anything.
And invalidates your lightning round.
Yeah.
Well, you'd think that if Nintendo was really growing up with us, there'd be inflation there, and it would be like 125
That's
coins.
true. It's actually 105 coins to get to an extra light. Yeah. All right, Mr. Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. Give me a minute about Nintendo and growing up with its fans.
I'm glad I read this article because I thought it was about something different at first when I read the title. When I initially read it, I thought it was how Joe's minute first started out, where like Nintendo needs to grow up with its fans. Like, oh, it should grow up with me and make more, maybe like more mature games, so it can sell it to me because I'm going to keep buying it. But then when I read it, it was more like, oh, they need to learn how to cater to the new youth of our age and make games that they enjoy. Like they need to make a new Mario where the new kids can get into. Because I think the way they were explaining it was these kids are growing up with people like Steve, who is the Minecraft character, and they're creating these new iconic characters in their perception. How like we had Mario or Sonic, and Nintendo, I guess, just isn't quite there yet, but they need to get to that point where kids know how to use technology. They need to know how to interact online already, and Nintendo's like kind of like not allowing. They're not giving them that kind of service. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Okay. You're over your minute. I will award you 3 extra lives -1 for going over.
Okay.
However, I will give you 75 coins for making just point, in the sense that identity is something that Nintendo might be struggling with. Maybe not as hard as some of us think it's happening, but at the same time, you know, they are playing a bit of catch up.
Hey, save it for your minute, sir.
Okay. All right. It's my minute. Here we
I
go.
wanted a fire flower.
Okay.
Can I trade?
Joe Erskine. Ready, go.
All right. So I actually kind of disagree with all of this. Nintendo doesn't have a problem growing up. I think if you had written this article or this thing 3 years ago, then you'd have a relevant point. I think Wii U was very indicative of something when it comes to numbers and profits that might give you an idea that Nintendo was failing to a certain degree. But even Nintendo's come out saying this past week that they're going to relook, their approach to VR and even after Virtual Boy, they're willing to come back. I mean, they understand where the culture is going and where development is going. They're also they just came off a year where Smash Brothers was huge, Splatoon was fucking huge, and Super Mario Maker was huge. So not only did they develop something that is literally a level editor that no one at our age when we first played Mario would have been able to handle. Like that, having a level editor at 5 and 6 years old is fucking bullshit. But I don't know. They're paying very close attention, I think, and then they're making certain adjustments. Splatoon was the first goddamn new IP from Nintendo in a very fucking long time.
Yeah, and that's great.
I'm just saying. I think they're paying very close attention to their.
You're
I am. Brian, we have a ritual that you get to reward me, the host, with points.
Okay. Well, I'll go with 3 1-ups because you agreed with me more or less.
Nice.
So,
There's no bias here.
let's say 82 coins. That's
I like
a random
82.
number.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And one impossibly to beat Mario level.
Sure.
That's
That
Mario
sounds like Mario
Maker
Maker.
level,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mario Maker level.
Yeah, do one of
Absolutely.
you don't need
those.
Mario Maker to make impossible Mario levels. They had those before.
It helps
that.
though.
Yeah.
It does help. Anyway.
No, they're absolutely fucking insane.
Well, they have one that can add.
I'm sure somebody's leading right now
course
as
they
far
do.
as our scoring process for the lightning round, but it doesn't really matter.
None of that
So let's
fucking
move on. Apparently, the sweet tones of David Attenborough's soothing, reflective, and observational voice on the BBC's Planet Earth aren't enough for some people. Some people need the D-O-double-G. There's a petition floating around the internet that's collecting signatures to get Snoop Dogg in the narrator's chair for the series after he did a bit on Jimmy Kimmel recently. Yay or nay, fellas? Extra points if you do your minute and your best Snoop impression.
No.
Okay.
I don't even know what these points are. I don't give a shit.
I'm going to declare this right away. We, as is custom, Brian, you'll go last. You'll get the last lightning round minute, all right?
Gotcha.
So you have the next 3 minutes
To prepare
and change to prepare yourself appropriately. Mr. Golish, I'm looking at you for
I thought Sigourney Weaver did Planet Earth. I guess I don't would I want Snoop Dogg to do this? Probably not. And he's Snoop Lion, or did he go back to Dog?
he's back to Dog.
what?
Snoop Lion.
He was Snoop Lion for a
The
little
whole
bit.
roster
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But why? Why is he doing this? Why do we need him to narrate my high def nature stuff? I don't know. I wish I could do an impression. Otherwise, I do one of him explaining monkeys having sex or something. But
I'll take care of it.
you'll do it in yours. Thanks.
No.
D-O-double-G.
Are you good?
I'm good. That's
Are
all
you
I got.
good? Okay.
That's all I got.
Jesus.
I'm going to award you with
How many?
Yoshi smoking a blunt, maybe? No. I'll give you 1 extra life. A green and white mushroom. And the 1 coin that you needed to get to your 5th one as well. So
I want power-ups. I don't want these stupid lives.
all right, and a fire flower. Okay. God damn it. God damn it.
I wanted the raccoon suit this time.
All right, Arroyo, do
Okay.
it.
I don't know about you, but every time I ever watched Planet Earth, I was high as fuck. So that's the only way to watch that show,
Speak.
as far as I'm concerned. Also, I do not promote the use of drugs, nor have I ever done them. And so there's nothing better than watching 2 animals you've never even heard of mate in HD. So now all I can think of are the moments where they show some of the lush greenery. That is where Snoop Dogg is just tripping out over this dank ass tree or something like that. And I think it fucking sucks. Okay, first of all, but I also would like the version of that to also exist so that we can laugh about it for a good hour and then get sick of it because it'll get old really fucking fast.
I really like that.
So yeah, for shizzle.
It's like you got that.
For shizzle. That's how you end your minute? All right.
It's like you have the director's cut version where it's Snoop Dogg talking instead of the normal narrator.
Right, and you watch it for a short period of time and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop this.
Catch it in doses, yeah.
Sometimes he says something about what the other narrator says too.
How many D-O-double-Gs?
You get 3 G's and a couple extra lives. All right. All right, so I got a minute before we let Brian go here. Close this out appropriately. Go ahead.
Go for it.
So this whole prop, I love everything about this on a internet level, a Reddit level.
A Reddit.
But then I think about the guys that are like literally standing, holding like the IMAX camera that weighs like 800 pounds on their shoulder. Probably not. But they're standing like up to their knees in bat guano in caves. And they're like, they spend years, getting all the B-roll and the footage for Planet Earth. And then I think about when they get home and they're talking to their kids, like, I've been in Africa for the past 7 months, living in like horrible conditions, or I've been in like India or in these horrible situations. Like I'm in this giant cave that's 500 feet below the earth, and all I smell is guano. All I'm eating is guano. I'm stepping there are not boots big enough to get me out of the guano. And now you replace David Attenborough with Snoop Dogg to showcase my work.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, this seems like a problem to me. But in the meantime, Planet is Earth, yo. Just saying. Yeah.
Brian, take away points from this. What's he get?
Yeah, you need to reward me appropriately or inappropriately, depending on how you see it fit.
Oh, okay. What was the point system again? G's?
Doesn't matter.
It's whatever you want it to be.
What do you want to give him?
I have no idea. 3 Sonic the Hedgehogs. I don't know. I'm looking at my room at stuff, so
I like that.
Plush Sonic the Hedgehog there. So there you go.
I appreciate
Let's say
it.
3 of them.
That's very Kaiser Sose of you.
It's more than one, and a value that I'm not sure about. So thank you. I get to lose sleep thinking about it now. Mr. Brian White, you have our last minute for the lightning round. Last topic of the day. Talk to me about Snoop Dogg narrating Planet Earth. Go.
Well, internet petitions like this always make me roll my eyes. I think David Attenborough's voice is fine. I don't know why they didn't. It should be Christopher Walken, if you want my honest opinion.
Oh, hell yeah!
And I can't believe no one thought of that. So I guess that's all I have to say about it.
Yes.
I love it.
Champagne.
Come in, have some champagne.
Yeah, beautiful. You know what? Short, succinct. You get the 99 extra lives that come when you do that first trick in level 1-1 on the staircase, and you hop on the shell like just enough times to get the.
I can never quite get that down.
Yeah, me neither. But you get it. You get it, buddy. You got it here
I would
tonight.
also like to reward him 3 whistles.
Oh,
so he can go wherever
warp
he wants.
wherever the fuck you want. Right on.
All right to 8-1.
Yep.
Yeah, straight up.
And then you're like, oh shit, I should have practiced this game. It's really hard.
Brian, we're grateful and honored that you would grace us with your presence and hang out with us for the show
Thanks
tonight.
for having me. This was a lot of fun.
No, thank you
Right
so
on.
much,
Thanks,
man. Episode 83 is essentially a wrap. Thank you again, Brian, for taking the time. Had a lot of fun talking with you. Any sneak peeks you can give us about the next article for Talking Amongst Yourselves and or Current Digital?
I'm writing about Life is Strange, basically.
Oh.
About all the choices you make in that game.
Cool.
So, and how a lot of people don't think they mattered, but I think they did. So,
For a moment, I
kinda
thought you
fun.
were going to say Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I have nothing to say about Sonic.
Wait for it, because I'm sure Telltale's going to come out with the Sonic the Hedgehog fucking narrative. It's coming. It's coming, you guys.
What the hell's the difference?
Before we go, let the folks know where they can check you out work-wise and where they can stalk you on Twitter.
Okay, you can find me on Kotaku's blog, Talk Amongst Yourselves, at currentdigitalmag.com, and my Twitter handle is @thewhyofbry. So, those are all the places I'm at.
We follow you, and now hopefully a bunch of other people will too. But
And where can they stalk you in person? No, we're good.
thank you, Brian, very much, man. It was awesome talking to you. Please come back. Keep us posted. We're gonna keep reading your stuff. Hopefully we can get you back on in a future episode. So
Yeah, awesome. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
and thank you for being here, dear listener. Know that we're always curious to hear what you think. So please hit us up. cheatcodespodcast.com. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. And get in on the conversation. Stay tuned for a new episode coming next week. Artax, don't die in the mud. Artax.
Was it Artax?
It was the horse. Remember? Died in mud. He lost the game.
I feel like you're saying it wrong for some reason.
It's not. Okay.
It was so sad when he died.
We're going. Goodbye.
Fact checkers.
Happy birthday to us for 2 years.
Happy birthday!
All right. Thanks again, Brian. Take it easy, man.